Let me scoop out. Okay, good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing this morning?
Hey,
Yay, good. How about you guys on Zoom? I need you to unmute yourselves.
I'm
How are
good,
you?
thanks.
doing great.
Hear you guys.
Sure.
All right. So, okay. So checking in, Cameron, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, hello.
Hello. Okay, let me turn up the volume. All right. Hi, Cameron. How was your evening?
It was very good. Yeah, I got a little kayaking in again yesterday.
Oh, good, good. So, and then how did your calls go in as well?
So far, so good. I'm gonna follow up with you on that, definitely.
Cool. It sounds like you have a potential buyer's consult for Friday.
Yes, yes.
Yay. Okay, that's a big win. Excellent. Great job.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. Good. Any challenges that you're facing right now?
Other than panic, because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay.
You'll do great. We'll take it one step at a time and we'll be connecting this afternoon.
Yeah,
Super.
thank you.
All right. Awesome. Kelly, I'm gonna check in with you. How are you doing?
Good. I spent my evening at the baseball fields for t-ball and softball games. So I didn't make calls, but I did talk to a lot of parents and the people at the snack shack. So, just, making connections. Yeah.
Good. All right. Excellent. Any challenges that you're facing right now?
Not really. I have
Okay.
like super confidence right now, so it's good.
Yay. Oh, that's good. Good, good, good. Brian, you're in the back. Hi. Tell me about your day yesterday. How were your calls?
Well, we will get the guy that was on the mat, so it was good.
Good. Okay.
And then, yeah. But
Is there anything that we can do to help support you right now?
honestly, I think navigating MLS is kind of been my biggest hurdle, to be honest. I got to call them and get them to help me like walk through it. So I don't know, I wish there was like a Q&A inside MLS or something like
Yeah.
that to navigate, but.
Yeah, let me look into that. Let me figure that out for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. In case of those of you that didn't hear it on Zoom, just curious about how to navigate Flex MLS. So yeah, we'll look into that and see if you all need help. Definitely reach out. Did I
If
miss
you
anything
want,
else?
from 11:30 to 12, I can go through it with them.
Awesome.
You know, we can do a little working lunch. Do you guys, would that be helpful for y'all? If I
Well-
just do a 30-minute just how to set up for like buyers and stuff on Flex?
We have back-to-back classes without
Oh, you
break.
do? Oh, no
Yeah,
break. Oh,
so
okay.
no break, but we have
Got it.
lunch that's getting served, and then Amanda starts right at 11:30.
Oh,
So-
so just plug me in anytime and we can do it for, it'll take 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Did I miss anybody on Zoom? I feel like maybe
We got one-
somebody else. One
We got
more.
One more
Let
join.
me see, I've got the clicker. Arian. Arian, how are your calls? Good morning, Arian.
Good morning. Yesterday was, I mean, to be honest, it wasn't super productive, only because I've been sidetracked with, like I already told you, my mom's in the hospital. But I still, even this morning, I was just trying to think again about different ways and plan out in my mind, like different ways I'm going to, do my lead generations and just how I'm going to work my day.
Okay, absolutely. All right. Well, game plan. And I think, yeah, thank you very much. And I hope your mom is doing well and recovering. And okay, so we'll touch base after class, and then just talk about strategies moving forward. All right, guys, I'm gonna hand it over here to Matthew St. John. He is your facilitator instructor today. And Matthew, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
So Matt St. John, I run a very small team. We do a lot of skill bridge stuff with guys. Just myself, an admin and a showing assistant, and then some skill bridge participants. We did around, I think, 15 million last year in volume, 36 sides. Been in real estate about 3 years, retired from the military in 23. Pretty heavily involved in the military space. I'm the national committee director for KW military as well. So if you guys have any issues or questions about that, let me know. Just we can talk offline, or at the end if we have time for Q&A. Feel free to jump on it. So we're gonna dive right in. If you guys, Luke is on the way. He was at a final walkthrough for me this morning. All right. So go for an in slide, please. Okay, guys. So we've been talking about lead generation. The biggest thing about lead generation isn't necessarily generating them, right? Because you can generate a billion leads. Believe it or not, I know you probably don't think so, but generating leads is not difficult, right? It's generating quality leads and being able to convert them that is the important part. Slide. All right, so we're gonna talk about lead conversion, converting it to appointment, improving your conversion rate, and then recapping in a daily success system. This is good. All right. So Gary Keller from Shift, still haven't read that. The effort you give converting leads must match the effort you give to generating. So when it comes to lead conversion, I want you guys to take a minute. You guys have notebooks in front of you, I assume, right?
Yes.
Yes. I want you to go ahead and write down 1 or 2 questions each about lead conversion that you may have. Right? And there's no rules to that. Just write down a couple questions that you have for lead conversion. And then at the end, we'll see how many of them I was able to answer, and then which ones we weren't able to answer, we'll answer at the end. Does that sound good? So I'll give you guys 2 or 3 minutes to write down a couple questions that you guys have for lead conversion.
You actually have what questions we have about converting or?
Yes. Yep. So the question was, Brian wanted to know if I wanted to know what questions y'all have for lead conversion, and that is exactly correct. You go slide, please.
The clicker.
Oh, no worries. All right, Arian, got a question for you. When it comes to generating and converting leads as two separate activities, which activity do you think deserves the most energy and attention?
Well, I would say, well, the follow-up, I guess, if I'm understanding the question correctly.
So I sort of tricked you on that one. They both deserve the equal amount, they're of equal importance. When it comes to the amount of time, because they both take about the same amount of time. So if you have time blocked out for lead gen, you need to block out the same amount of time for follow-up and connecting to the leads that you've already generated, right? I don't know, I mean, it's up to Sharon. How many clients have you lost because you didn't keep up with them after you generated the lead?
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, it's a sore subject, right?
It is, and it's so true. It's like, oh, I'll get back to them, and then they end up going with someone else.
Buying or selling with someone
Yeah.
else, right?
Absolutely.
So
You
if
know,
are-
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No,
I was
please
just
go.
gonna say, I think in the first couple days of class, I was telling Matt a testimony about that, how I didn't take it seriously. You know, this person had asked me, oh, hey, by the way, I was on Maui and they said to me, oh, hey, by the way, I'm going to move up to Alaska at some point, you know, hey, find me a place. And I thought, yeah, okay, you know, and I never followed up on that person. And then they really did move. And I said, oh, yeah, who'd you end up, you know, having for your realtor? And they were like, oh, I called 4 realtors and nobody called me back. And so I just went with the one that called me back.
So, again, I'm sure in this class and other classes that you'll take in the future, they tell you to block out time in the morning for lead gen, right? But I have not seen very much, in the way of like time blocking for keeping in touch with the client base in a lot of classes or instruction or otherwise. So, and this is the biggest thing, right? If you generate 100 leads, cool, say they're all high quality leads, right? And you don't keep up with half of them, your conversion rate basically goes, you know, into the toilet, which is not good. So, because the higher your conversion rate, the less work you're gonna actually have to do, right? The less leads you're gonna have to generate. So that's a big thing in my company, in my business, is we don't generate a ton of leads. We generate a decent amount of high quality leads and then we stay in front of them consistently. Because it's much easier to keep the leads you already have than generate new leads. Right? It's much easier, believe it or not, to convert the leads you have than to generate new ones. We'll go into it. So slide please, or actually no, we'll talk about this one. What's the button for a slide? Yeah.
It's this arrow here to the side.
Okay, cool. The one off one. Got it.
Yep.
Alright, so the normal lead conversion process, you capture your lead, you're gonna connect with the person, cultivate and close. You guys have already talked about a number of different lead generation techniques, right? Who else we got on Zoom?
We should have Cameron, Arian, and Kelly.
Hey, Kelly, what is a lead generation technique that you're interested in pursuing?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
Nor,
That's
well,
very-
so my kids are super into sports. And so
Okay.
I spent a lot of time at the ball fields, talking to parents and stuff. And then also my husband is still active duty. So I
Okay.
have quite a few leads that should be coming up here. They're still waiting on orders.
okay,
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
that's where you're at. So you're finding rooms that you wanna be in and just networking inside those rooms.
Yeah.
Cool, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. That actually segues into, I'm just gonna touch on this real quick because the class isn't about lead gen, but if you're doing things for lead gen that you don't like to do or don't want to do, your business is gonna fail, right? So if you're not into making cold calls, or if you're not into doing a client events, or if you're not into doing golden letters, whatever the situation is, your business will have a hard time. So you need to make sure that whichever lead gen technique you utilize is something that is sustainable and that you're gonna enjoy doing, right? And that also leads into being authentic, because people can tell if you're doing something that you don't wanna do. Do you think they want, like, when you go into a restaurant and the waiter, you can tell is not into doing it, are you gonna want to like go back to that restaurant with that waiter?
Nope.
No, you can tell, everybody can tell if people are doing something they don't wanna do, right? It's a sixth sense, whatever you wanna call it, right? But if they don't enjoy their job, you can tell. So that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you for lead gen is find a technique that you can do consistently, that you enjoy, or at least don't hate, right? All right, so connection, after you capture the leads, talk about connect. And that authenticity that I was talking about is a good way to connect, because if you're in the room with people that are like you, whether it be kids, sports, military, an outdoor group, whatever the hobby or the activity or the purpose of it is, you're gonna be able to connect with those people because you already have a common ground, right? You already have a basis, right? You already have something in common. So that's a big thing when it comes to connection. Cultivate, of course, like I said, you gotta time block out that time after you already have the leads to reach out. Now, does that mean bug them every day? No, no. Again, be authentic. Find out about, some clients are gonna want to be handheld and be talked to all the time, and they're gonna be time bandits is what I call them, right? Because they can steal your time constantly, but that's okay. Set your boundaries and talk to them as much as reasonable for you and them. And don't be afraid that if, I know this is gonna sound weird, but at the beginning, if you don't feel like you're vibing with that person, refer them out, get a referral fee. Find them somebody that can be more fitting for their personality, all right? Don't be scared to let a client go if you're getting a weird feeling or if it's already starting to be frustrating, okay? Refer them out to somebody that you think they would get along with, or somebody, especially when you're new, maybe a little bit more experience on somebody that's being a little bit needy or a little bit problematic, all right? So that you don't put your license at risk, or just use up more of your emotional and mental bandwidth than you're able to put out. All right. And then close. So, all right. So possible, probable, and profitable. Cameron, what would you define possible business as?
Everyone,
Okay. So basically every client out there.
yes.
Okay, cool. Have you guys gone over any real estate statistics? At all? Some, okay. So I think, was it in April, there was something like 300 properties in the valley sold, give or take, 300 and something properties sold in the valley. So, so 600 sites, give or take, right? So if they're averaging that in the valley, there's a lot of meat on the bone. So probable business. Brian, what would you say would be probable business for you?
Well, for instance, this weekend I'm got up with my entire motocross, the snowcross family, and then I was able to pull contact from there. So that probable business is folks that are in my sphere that are actually to, so
You said it perfect. Sphere, right? Sphere. So the sphere, guys, and everybody has one, and it's more than just the people in your phone, right? But this is an opportunity for you to get the people in your sphere into your contact list, right? When it comes down to it, all the parents that are in your PTAs or your kids' soccer team or whatever the situation is, you have access to the contact information, and I'm not saying contact them against the will, but just, you know, become an asset to the team, snacks, whatever, coordinate, you know, start to, show your value, right? Because all of that time that you spend on the team, whatever the group is a lead gen activity, and it also takes care of that connecting and cultivating at the same time, right? Passively. So the more involved you can get into those things, the better off you'll be. So profitable business. Kelly, is that one?
Yes, Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly, what would you say profitable business would be?
Those that are actively looking to buy or sell, that you can work with.
So you're saying like what time frame would you consider that to be?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, there's no wrong answers here. So believe it or not, so a lot of people tend to focus when they think of profitable business on right now, getting people under contract. That can be a little bit limiting. I know when you're first starting out, everything needs to happen right now because you got bills to pay. Completely understand. But profitable business is anybody in your sphere, and your sphere will grow, that you can stay in contact with that is in Alaska, basically. Like, at some point, the majority of them will either buy or sell the people in your sphere, right? So as long as you keep that cultivation up and the connection up, you'll be there and that will be profitable for you. All right, so we're already to hot pause. Sharon, am I going too fast?
No, you're doing great.
All right.
This material can be lean and mean, and then you just.
Yeah.
You're doing great. Everything you're doing is great.
All right. All right, so real quick, does anybody have any of these AHAs? Does anybody know what AHA stands for? According to the Kellerisms, you guys have talked about Kellerisms.
Yes, we talked about colorisms.
Yeah, agents helping agents is what an AHA is. So you'll hear that a lot if you go to any of these conventions or otherwise. Someone give me an AHA from what we just talked about.
I didn't really, so we talked a lot about blocking time to generate, and I didn't really consider blocking, like making specific time to follow up with those connections. So that was something new.
Good, good. Yeah, I do it every day. Every day it happens. And it's just to minimize the chance or potential that I put all this work up, preloaded all this work, and then I miss the opportunity, right? Have you guys gone over the graph where it goes like the cycle of buying and selling?
Yes.
Yeah, so you guys have seen that, you know, so it doesn't matter where they are on the graph going up or down or otherwise. You don't necessarily have to directly reach out to them through text or call. There's lots of ways to stay in front of mind. And we talked about some of them with like the various groups, like getting involved and just being in the front. But just, you know, emails, hey, I saw this event, you know, blasting it out to your friend group, your sphere, whatever. I have specific text groups for specific activities in my phone. And I use a message app called Loop Message that can build specific groups off of a CSV file off of my phone. And it texts them all individually. It doesn't make a group text, right? So if I see something from, say, like my side-by-side group that there's an event going on, I'll text each one of them individually, but I just write one message and then send out the text, and it'll text everybody individually to let them know, hey, this is going on this weekend. Or camping or whatever the situation is, right? There's a lot of ways to do this very efficiently that doesn't come across as, hey, I'm a realtor, are you ready to buy or sell yet? Right?
And what is that app called?
Loop Message.
Message.
Yeah. All right, So we got about 30 minutes in. All right, so how to convert a lead to an appointment. So first thing we're gonna talk about collecting minimum amount of valid information of a potential buyer or seller. Okay. So this conversation framework is basically sounds like if you're talking to somebody that you didn't know. Right? But I really, really want to emphasize the importance of leveraging your sphere and people you know first. So I don't think these are necessarily good initially. So, I mean, they're all right, but they're a little, I don't know, they sound a little just vague in general, right? So, pull the names up here. I'm gonna get them. You pull the names up.
We've got Cameron on there and we got Arian.
Oh, yeah, Arian. Arian, if you were and I were having a conversation, but well, let me preface this real quick first. What is something that you're into doing when you're not at work, like hobby wise or activity wise?
Well, I'm very involved in the homeschool community because I homeschool my kids.
There you go, perfect. So if you're at a field trip, right, with the homeschool group, right, and you have a conversation with a parent, right, and they're talking about possibly being frustrated with renting and looking to buy, how would you ask for their contact information?
I guess I would start I guess it would depend if I just met him or if I knew him already, but I might start just asking them about different curriculum that they're using and kind of enter in that way, not go right into like, hi, I'm a realtor and I'm ready to, offer this for you. And just start asking them about their family a little bit, maybe the curriculum, and then say, oh, by the way, kind of that approach.
By the way. Hey, what do you guys think? What inputs would you guys have? Ryan?
I'd probably just open it up a brand new contact with my buddies. I'm able to be like, hey man, how's, whatever relationship that we had, but when it's somebody brand new. I don't know, I feel like square texting them.
Say they're like right in the middle. Like friend of a friend, you're familiar with who they are, but they're not your buddy. Not a stranger.
Yeah. The first thing I do is just try to hit them with like something to connect with.
Yeah.
I try not to go on the street.
Yeah, common ground, right. Establish common ground first. Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing again, and go back to it, and I'm sure you guys will hear it 100 times during the rest of this class that you guys have got over the next couple of weeks, is you just want to be an asset, right? So if you're like in your homeschool group, right? You're building credibility with that group or whatever sphere you're in every time you interact with them. So you want to make sure that those interactions are credible, and then it makes these interactions that you feel weird or uncomfortable or maybe nervous about much easier because you've already built up the credibility, right? So when you go, hey, I may be able to help you. Tell me what you're looking for. Give me an idea of, how I can help. Don't say, hey, I can find you a house. Let me show you houses. Just ask them, hey, I have this skill, or tell them, hey, I have this skill set. How can I help? And leave it open-ended, right? Don't start to put in a framework ahead of time of certain criteria, like, hey, I can show you houses. Hey, I can get you pre-approved. None of those things, right? How can I help? Let them give you all the information. All information that they give you is good information. Free information is invaluable, right? So just ask a general question, hey, how can I help? And then at some point, when they tell you how you can help or potentially help. The setting the appointment or getting the contact information will flow into that conversation seamlessly instead of you having to go, oh, by the way, or, something that just makes it feel sort of overly salesy or realtor, right? Is one of my favorite jokes is, how do you know that you're in a run with a realtor, a vegan, and a CrossFitter? They'll tell you, right?
I was like, where are we going? That's good.
They'll tell you, right? So I really, really try to avoid that as much as possible. And I try to come from a place of, how can I help? If you just say that over and over and over, people will give you all kinds of information for you to be able to, one, help them, and also frame the structure of how you can help them. All right?
I have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
What is a good way? I already shared this in the class, but I'm in kind of a precarious position with what I do outside of real estate, and I'm wanting to know again how, instead of that kind of verbiage like, oh hey, I can help you or whatever, like most of my contacts are in my church setting, so I'm
Okay.
trying not to make them feel like I'm using influence, over them, but in a negative way. So can you please give me like, oh, I don't know, like the verbiage where how this would sound, like I'm uh like a spiritual advisor, but I'm also a realtor. It's kind of an interesting combination.
Well, I mean, I would recommend that you leave real estate out of any of the spiritual advisory type official communications or appointments or meetings or otherwise that you have with people. Like, just completely leave it out. Do not put business cards on your desk. Do not wear realtor clothes or realtor pins or any of that stuff while you're doing those appointments or interacting in that capacity, right? I would highly recommend against it just because of, you just don't want to, like you said, be perceived as trying to use that influence for one thing or another. However, again, when we're talking about being an asset, the more dependable, the more of an asset that you are in that community, the more people will reach out organically for it, right? Because you're visible in your community, right? In that church.
Yeah, and what you just said, I was already thinking I was going to do, like, um, as a way of not bringing it up, I was going to wear a pin, but not the name tag, but like a small pin, to where it would catch the attention and be like, what is that? And then I can bring it up.
So,
So we had different, I'll just
yeah,
chime in
yeah, I
here.
got you.
We had different
Opinions on it.
opinions
Yeah.
on this, and I think it's a personal preference.
I
So-
agree.
So
But-
and here's where the stance is.
Yeah.
If she's wearing it,
Mhm.
this is my stance. If you're wearing it and they approach you and they're asking you for your help, then of course you can openly offer that help, but you're not necessarily, that is a passive way to get business, without asking for the business. Even if she were to wear, if she came from work and or had something with a logo on it and walked into a church meeting.
So,
Can I jump in on something?
yeah, please go ahead.
So I was going to ABT for a while, and there was one Sunday morning, they introduced a bunch of politicians, and I picked my family up and we left the church for that reason, because I didn't come there for
That,
politics. I came there, because
Right.
I need assistance with my life kind of thing,
Mhm.
So I don't know, I'm big on just keeping it separated, but
yeah, so,
But she's
yeah.
not necessarily asking for business or
Yeah, for
advocating
sure.
by just wearing something.
but you just said that she is looking for business by wearing the pin, which contradicts what you just said.
Each your own, I'm sure there's
Right,
gonna be one.
but yeah, so I have a question. And it's rhetorical, but out of the people that are visible in your church, how many of them do you not know what they do for a living? So I just. think
Yeah,
about that.
most of the people at yeah, I do. Here's my thing, and then tell me this. The pin I was thinking on wearing would be the tiny little KW. So not everybody knows, what that is. And then they say, "Oh, what's that?" And then I can say, reason why I haven't thought about doing it is because there's other realtors um, in the church that are getting business because they're just telling people that, and they're using it kind of like to build, their database or their sphere of influence. However, I am in a position as clergy that I'm like, I don't want to just solicit business right there in the church.
Right, so I guess it is gonna come up to like ethically, what do you think is right? I would caution you against. Maybe like trying to like compete with the other realtors in your space. With the same tactics that they're using. I feel like if you're just, again, you're already in a good position as clergy for one, because we were talking about gaining credibility, right, on a daily basis. And two, already being an asset in that community, right? So, again, I would, how about this? I wouldn't do anything that you would find to make you the least bit uncomfortable when it comes to that. I would just come across as your authentic self. And if that means wearing the KW pin because you're proud of being in KW, go for it. If that gives you any kind of pause, then avoid it.
Okay, thank you. That's really good wisdom. Thank you. And and now that I'm seeing KW for all of its training and the camaraderie of the helpfulness. Again, this is the first brokerage I've been in where agents are really willing to help other agents. So I am proud of it. I am proud of that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you should be. All right, did we get somebody else on?
Mhm. We have
Yeah.
Toby on,
Toby on.
I think.
Morning, Toby.
Tara's there too.
And who?
Tara,
Kara. Morning, Kara.
they're both on the Darwell.
Morning, guys, sorry.
Morning, good morning.
We had a morning meeting and some technical difficulties at the KW office.
No worries, welcome.
Okay, so, Toby, what is the minimum amount of information that you collect from your leads when you're lead generating?
The minimum amount that I would get from any leads is just see what property that they're interested in or what inquiries that they have about, but little information is either just their phone number or just their Gmail.
Okay, so just, I like to get personally as much information as I can off of them without coming across as, I don't know, like one of those like bots that just trying to capture your information for nefarious purposes, right? So you'll have different conversations that require you to get or a different amount of information. Some people are like, hey, let me get your number. Okay, what do I put your name in as? One of the things that I have started to utilize a little bit more is, a lot of people have iPhones, not everybody has iPhones, but you can just share the contact card with each other by just bumping it. Have you guys, how many iPhone users do we have in the room? I don't have the cameras turned on, so I don't know if you guys are raising hands or not.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, so one,
I have one.
Craig, Sharon, Rachel, a couple other people. So if you want, we can go over that, but, that is a really good way to get like their name, their full name. Email address most of the time. Date of birth, phone number, the whole deal, right? And then you don't have to make it weird by saying, hey, what's your date of birth? What's your email? What's your address? You know, all of those things, right? So, hey, just learn how to do the bump YouTube, whatever, with the contact card, and that's a really easy way to get the information, okay? Can I say something? I'll think of it in a second. Okay, once you get that information, what are you guys doing with that information? Arian, what are you doing with the information once you get somebody's contact card? You just did the iPhone bump, you have their contact card now, it's got name, phone number, email address, property address, date of birth. Where does that information go?
Okay, so now I'm putting it in my contacts. I'm putting it in my database.
Okay, what do you mean when you're putting it in your database?
I'm gonna put it in command.
Okay, how does it get put in command? Are you hand jamming it in?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to because I don't know how to do it any other way.
Okay, so there's a number of systems that you can do for iPhone or Android, also off of the Command app. There's a way on the Command app for you to sync your contacts into Command immediately, right? And it will update any contacts that are not currently in your Command. And it's off of the Command app on your phone. Have you guys gone over any of that stuff yet? Okay. So, Rachel, can you take a note for me, please, to just, like, do a quick video or send out a link? How to do that? Thank you very much. We'll show you guys how to do that, so that'll save you guys a ton of time, and that'll input all of the data directly from your phone onto Command. Have you guys been hand jamming all of your contacts from your phone into Command already?
Actually, I have a question about that real quick. How do
Go for
you
it.
does it automatically then give you some kind of way that you can separate it or categorize it, or then you're gonna have to go back in there and do that anyway?
So that's what we're gonna talk about next. If you guys have been hand jamming contacts into Command already, I apologize. We probably should start like day 1 or day 2 with like the app and showing you how to put your contacts directly from your phone into your Command. But I can show you guys that or send you guys out a link during lunch so that you guys can get that done, so you don't have to hand jam in 100 contacts, which is abysmal. So when it comes to tagging stuff out, so when they're in your phone, you can't necessarily tag them out in your phone to send over to Command. But what I like to do to differentiate is a lot of contacts will have like first name, last name, then like business or something as another category, or otherwise underneath, I think in Apple, it's called like company or something, you know, it's a third editable field right under the name. I'll put like where I know them from in that field, right? So that when I go into Command, I can find them easily. But I don't currently use Command, but when I was using Command, I would go through, and this is part of that cultivate time blocking, and go through, say, I met some people over the weekend. I'd update my contacts into Command Monday morning, and then I go in there and then tag them out in Command to keep them organized. Right, so if you get behind on the tagging and stuff, it gets rough. Right, and you tend not to do those things because they can be a little bit tedious and overwhelming. So if you stay up on top of it, it'll make everything much easier. Command, you're able to make custom tags, so you can go, you know, whatever your kid's name is, soccer team, you know, as, you know, a tag, or, you know, husband, coworker, or, you know, literally anything. They have a lot of pre-filled out ones as well. But I highly recommend keeping your tags in order. And then if you want, there's also a note section that you should probably utilize as well. But we'll get more into that later. I stopped using Command because I went to a system that automatically filled in my notes for me because it records my phone calls and texts and summarizes them and puts them in my notes for me, so I don't have to remember anything. Which is helpful. I think Command is gonna be working on that with AI over the next year, from what I understand, but they're just not there yet. but tagging your sphere, because I mean, I think, how many contacts do we have in our 10,000? Yeah, so I have like 10,000 people in my database right now. I don't have 10,000 people worth of memory in my head, right? So, as you build, I'd be willing to bet I don't have 100 people's worth of memory in my head, right? When it comes down to it, for the conversations. So having, your notebook or your command open while you're having these conversations with people or otherwise, or, making yourself a quick note after a conversation will be invaluable to that. Consistently sustaining those leads or cultivating those leads to ensure that you're not gonna be dropping the ball. All right. So Toby, do you currently have any tags in your command that you use?
So we don't use command, but I don't have any specific tags, as of currently.
What system do you guys use?
We use place or
We use
brevity.
Brevity? Okay, so you don't currently have tags that you use?
No, sir.
We do, but Toby's
Mhm.
brand new, so he's still working on that.
For sure, for sure. How many people do you have in your database right now, Toby?
As of right now, I think I've got like 14.
Or how many people do you have in your phone?
I've got over 800.
Okay. So you have 800 people, and we're gonna teach you how to put all those directly, I'm sure your admin or your rainmaker or otherwise will teach you exactly how to download those directly into your CRM so that you can, start working through those.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. The biggest thing with that is just because with where I'm licensed back home in North Carolina, that my brokerage back home already has all those contacts in my CRM. So all the contacts that I do have are on to that brokerage, with any leads that I may follow up with that. So moving up here, it's really just a fresh start.
Gotcha, understand. Yeah, I deal with that a lot in the military space. That's very common. Like we talked about yesterday, just find those rooms, right? Provide value, build your credibility, and then have those conversations. Were you in here when I was talking about asking the question, how can I help? Or did you enter after that?
I believe that was after the fact.
This morning, you jumped in after I had already talked about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so real quick for the people that joined late, we were talking about how to get people's contact information, et cetera, and how a lot of people will struggle with that question, right? And the biggest thing you can do is you don't ask them for their contact information directly, right? One, you build your credibility, but then you have a conversation, say it's with, we're talking about with Craig and another one, or Brian and another. You have a conversation and you just come from a place of how can I help? Not I can help you, or you don't start with an I, right? You don't want it to make the question about you. It's like, how can I help? Does that make sense? Instead of I can help you, right? Those two different statements have an entirely different tone, right? You never want to come across as self-important in this business, right? You can be as what's the word? Competent, thank you very much. You can be as competent as anybody else, right? But that'll come through as you're working with the people. You don't have to say, I can help, or I know what you need to do, or I, right? Always come from a place of how can I help? Right? Come from a place of service. In those conversations, it'll pay dividends.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, back on my little pin again. If somebody says to me, oh, what's that thing? That little KW, then I say what?
Then you say, hey, well, what does that pin mean to you? Forgive me for answering a question with a question, but I want to get a little more information before I can give you the best answer. What does that pen mean to you?
Well, this is my brokerage. I sell real estate, so this is my brokerage.
Okay. But before you were talking about how, you like the camaraderie, the
So this is,
education.
so this is my real estate family.
Okay, if that's what it is to you, then absolutely say that. So. I mean, it can range from anywhere from, this is the company I work for, to, this is the brokerage I work for that allows me to help families accomplish their real estate goals, to any number of things, but you wanna make sure you come from an authentic place, right? And I mean, cause people can tell when people are BSing them or not, right? So if they say, hey, what's that pen? Oh, it's where I work or whatever, but this is, this is why I wear it, or this is why I'm on that team, or this is why I work there, so to speak, right? But you just want to come from that authentic place.
I was trying to, thank you. I was trying to think of another way to say it too, other than, my go-to is always, oh yeah, I also sell real estate. I don't like the way that sounds, but
No, I
I'm
don't
not
either.
sure how to reword that. Like, or I'll say, oh, I do real estate. Oh, you do real estate? So I'm not really sure how to say that in a more attractive way.
Right. So I don't buy or sell real estate. Right? Individual people can buy and sell their own real estate all day, every day. Right? Agreed? They can get through it. It may not be
Right.
the prettiest thing, but they can 100% operate without us. Right? So I don't buy and sell real estate. I mitigate risk and I increase return on investment. Those are the two things I do in my business, period. Everything else falls under those two categories.
So what's a
So,
sweet way to say that? Like, what's a more personable way to say it other than clinical?
so if somebody says, so Shannon asked me, hey, Matt, I see you got a KW shirt on. What's KW? Oh, well, KW is the company that I work with. And it allows me to, again, help families accomplish their real estate goals, whether it be investment, stability, or otherwise. Something along those lines comes across a lot better. Or you can say Keller Williams is the company that has the best structure for me to achieve what I said, to help families achieve their real estate goals, stability, investment, whatever the situation is. Or you can say, that's my real estate family. Whatever, as long as it's coming from an authentic place and you mean what you're saying, it'll resonate, right?
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, I like that. That's my real personality, saying something like that, because we always use the term church family. This is a church family. So, and I'm not trying to be devious. That is my real personality. I would say, this is my real estate family now.
Correct, perfect. Yep, so, and that's why, so I had a hard time answering that for you, because how I would answer it would not necessarily come across authentic for you, or what comes across as authentic for me. All right, so.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's helpful, though. I think I just said it, and you just said it. So I get it. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I sort of jumped ahead a little bit. I sort of answered this next question for you. Brian, what is your value proposition? What do you offer? What do you offer for somebody in a real estate space to apply?
Well, obviously I'm new, but like how I did it this weekend was like, dude, if I'm working for you, like, we're full steam, we're gonna make sure you're handling on it in every aspect, whatever time works for you. And I gave them, for instance, we have somebody that was in Italy and their time they were waking up at 1 a.m. in the morning. So
Right.
we worked at 1 a.m. in the morning.
So flexibility, Okay. All right, Arian, give me one characteristic of your value proposition. Everybody's gonna take a turn, so start thinking.
Okay, I think I'm very compassionate with people. I'm very caring.
Very caring, okay? Tell me more about that. So if we're talking about $500,000 in real estate, sort of expand upon how that is helpful in that sphere, in that space.
Okay, so I would say I care about listening to what your needs are and how I can help you. I value your opinion.
Okay, so you're gonna put the client first, right? You're gonna let them drive the boat.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that's a better way than saying I care. You can maybe phrase it as like, look, I'm here to advise and make sure that you're taken care of, and I'm gonna put your needs first, right? So if the deal's bad, the deal's bad. We're gonna walk away, right? I'm not gonna push you into something that's not gonna work for you. So
Yes,
Toby, what do you
correct.
got? Give me a characteristic of your value proposition. Is he not there? You want to
Tara's right there too, so.
Okay. Oh. What did I do?
Toby had to take a phone call.
Oh, no worries. So Tara, give me a characteristic of your value proposition.
Communication, so prompt communication,
Prompt
Is it important?
communication.
yes.
Okay. Amanda,
Yes, sir.
give me a characteristic of your value proposition. One word if possible.
What?
Can you do it in one word? I'm gonna raise the difficulty level for you since you got some experience.
One word of my value proposition that describes myself?
Yeah. And your ability to provide value to your clients.
Responsive.
Responsive, so sort of on the same line. Okay, good. Rachel,
Reliable.
reliable, dependable, okay? Sharon,
Educate.
educate, okay, gotcha, because you can't educate if you're not educated, right? Which people love to tell people how much they know. But have they actually like delved down into it and become knowledgeable on that subject, right? So showing that you have the education, which is something that Keller Williams provides, we're providing right now, is of utmost important. And then who else do we have on the Zoom again? That we can,
Cameron.
Cameron?
Cameron on.
Cameron, what is a one word value proposition, or a couple words? We're not gonna make it too hard on you.
Efficiency.
Efficiency, tell me more about that. Can you be efficient as a new licensee?
Yeah, absolutely. Time management, be personable.
Okay?
Total
Time
package.
management, be personable. How do you ensure efficiency on your daily basis?
Well, at the moment, it's mostly time management. I'm working 3 jobs.
Okay, so that's very important right now because you're wearing a whole bunch of hats. So do you
Yes.
have time blocked out for each activity?
Yes.
Okay.
Sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
It's
And I'm
a
not
little
talking
up in the
about
air.
you- Say that again.
It's a little, my schedule is a little up in the air. With it
Right.
being summer, I work for the school district, so they send me all over at different times.
Okay. Gotcha. So I'm not trying to be hard on you, and I wasn't meaning to call you out by saying, can you be efficient? But none of us are actually as efficient as we could possibly be, right? It's always a constant struggle to become more efficient. And
There's
things like-
always room for growth.
Oh, yeah, exactly. CRM, time blocking, utilizing all available time to work on or in the business. And you guys haven't talked about the difference between on and in the business or anything yet, right?
We're getting there.
You get it, okay, so we'll leave that
Right
one,
now, this was all.
we'll leave that for that, yeah, got it, cool. All right, who did I miss?
I'm here. My word is curiosity.
Curiosity,
Yeah.
okay, so does that go in with Sharon's idea of education.
Yeah, I guess so. Mm-hmm.
So what are you curious about?
I'm curious about how I can help them. What
Okay.
answers do they need that I don't have?
Okay. So
Yeah.
does curiosity segue into problem solving?
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, so problem solving is literally the number one thing that we do. Right? Like, let's be honest. Whether it's for the client, for ourselves, or otherwise, problem solving is the number one thing that we do. So that's good. Who else did I miss? Anybody? We're good? Alright. So why I wanted to bring that up is I wanted to get you guys thinking about that value proposition so that when you're talking to clients, you can come from that space, right? So that you have a foundation to build off of, to have that conversation, which will be really helpful when you're framing that out. All right, so the 6 connection questions, who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they want or need to do it? Why, when, how? Right? Most of the time, the people in your sphere, you're gonna know who they are. That's one of the reasons why we want to leverage sphere so much. Not just at the beginning of your real estate adventure, but throughout. Right? Your sphere, I don't think that enough realtors leverage their spheres to the level that they should. They're always looking for new leads, not current leads. All right, what do they want or need to do? How can I help? Where do they want or need to do it? How can I help? Why do they want or need to do it? How can I help? All of these things come from that first question of how can I help? And then you can organically go through the process to ask the rest of these questions. All right, cultivate. You can't know or predict when they will come to a decision, but if you're reconnecting them in a systematic way, you'll have a great chance of being there when they do. That's when you'll be able to close for an appointment. So timeline, if you go back, question number 5, when do they plan or need to do it? That'll help you set your CRM up with your tasks or your reminders or otherwise for you to reach back out. But if you're constantly doing it, like I said, time blocking out, reaching out to your client base or your sphere, that won't be as important because you'll be front of mind the entire time. All right, so we've been going for about an hour. Do you guys want to take 10 minutes? Or do you guys want to press on? Up to y'all.
We've always just pressed.
Just press on? All right, cool. Rock and roll. All right, based on the cultivation type stuff, do you guys have any questions before we move on to the next step? When we're talking about cultivating our client base. Nothing? All right, we'll press on. Okay, so now we're closing, right? And by closing, we're not talking about closing on the deal or closing on the property. We're talking about setting an appointment. So when it comes to, I'm ready to buy a house. I would like to start seeing houses. What are or sorry, there's Kelly, right? Kelly is one.
Elise, one.
Yeah. Kelly, you have me as your client now. I wanna buy a house in Wasilla. I'm looking actively to start moving that direction. How would you start the conversation, with me to, start that process?
Probably a phone call or in person. But I
Okay.
think mainly it's whatever they're most comfortable with.
Okay, um. So I'm a buyer, right? There are some mandatory forms that we need to have signed before you can start showing me houses, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, do you prefer to have people in person or over the phone based off your personality?
In person.
You prefer in person? Okay. So we'll go ahead and say that most of your clients will be similar based off of similar interests, activities, personalities, or otherwise. And you all have already had FaceTime in front of most of them. So I would recommend. And it also, I think a lot of times helps those people get to see you face to face and have a conversation and go over those forms in person, on paper, in front of them. I find that helps a lot of people. So with that in mind, we're on the phone. Let's set the appointment. Hey, Kelly, it's Matt. I saw you called. What do you got going on?
Oh, I just wonder if we could set up a time to meet, go over some documents, paperwork, and figure out what it is you're looking for.
Okay. Everybody else, what do you guys think of that?
Cover the bases.
Cover the basics, good, yep, cover the basics.
Match what her value proposition was.
I'm sorry,
Didn't seem to match what her value prop,
right,
with his relationships, right?
Kelly, you were Curiosity, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Curiosity. So maybe, one thing, and this is maybe just a personal thing, and I used the word just now, intentionally, just comes across, if it's used in any other context than denoting a time frame, like I just did this or otherwise, can come across a little soft or almost like excusatory. Does that make sense? I just want to do
Yeah.
this thing, right? It's a little soft when it comes to language. So I would avoid using it. I still use it. I catch myself using it all the time. But when you're talking to clients, when it's time to pull the trigger, you don't necessarily have to come across soft or otherwise just. I was calling to set our buyer strategy session, whatever you want to call it, and I recommend that you guys all come up with a term that is consistent for these meetings with buyers or list or sellers, whatever the situation is. I call mine buyer strategy sessions. Right? They sound fairly active. And hey, I need to sit you down for a buyer strategy session. So you want to move forward and I want to come sit down with you face to face and go over the game plan and what that looks like, and also knock out a couple documents that we have to do that are required by Alaska for us to proceed, or something along those lines, making sure they come across authentic for you, but just lay it out for them, you know. It's one of the times where you can be a little assertive with your client and show them that, hey, now's the time for us to, you know, stop sort of courting and let's go on a date, right? Ask them out, so to speak. But what you said was good. We just, I recommend you come up with a term for the appointment, each different appointment. You know, if they're an investor, call it an investment strategy meeting, right? If they're a seller, don't call it a listing strategy meeting because most people don't know what listings are, right? That's a realtor term. You can call it a seller strategy meeting. You can call it a, you know, anything else, but a listing strategy meeting, we call those listing strategy meetings in my company internal in the office, but I don't use that term when I'm talking about it to the clients, right? Because it's a listing, seems a little impersonal, right? So, when asking for the appointment. When asking for the appointment, we talked about, what is the most effective? It depends on a combination of how you best communicate as well as how your client best communicates. So one thing on there that they didn't have is Zoom, right? So you have out-of-state clients like recently. Brian and I had a client in Italy, right? So email and text were the majority of it. However, we did do a number of Zoom sessions in place of the in-person sessions, and I utilize those a lot for my out-of-state buyers for a number of reasons. One, when you're going through what I was talking about before, the capture, connect, cultivate, so the recording session, you don't necessarily need to verify their identity, right? That's not as important. You're just having a conversation, not that big of a deal. For out-of-state buyers, I like to do the buyer strategy session over Zoom so I can verify that I'm talking to the actual person that I think I'm talking to that whole time. Right, to mitigate any issues. And that's just something I do to sort of cover my butt in those situations. And that's also another reason why I like to do in-person buyer strategy sessions as well. When a person is supposed to be local, so I can do that as well. You learn a lot about a person by meeting them in person or over Zoom. It's invaluable. All right, I'll let you guys read that. That's a lot. Okay, one thing I didn't touch on, I'm glad I just was reading the notes. Immediacy when it comes to scheduling an appointment. If they want to see houses, right? Hey, I think we're ready to see houses, right? It's time to schedule an appointment, right? Get it done the next day, same day, before the end of the week. Get it done so that you can start moving forward, all right? Don't let it lag out, if at all possible. And if they're out of state or they have relatives in town, whatever the situation is, that's fine, right? But schedule around it, but try to get it done at the soonest reasonable time that's convenient to them. All right? Don't let it waver. Get it done, so that way, when the right property shows up, you can show it to them and you're not gonna miss out because you haven't done your admin portion of the job. Right. Who have I not tagged out on this one yet for ahas? Hera. She there? Hera, do you
Sorry,
have any ah-
struggling to unmute.
Yeah, no worries.
So any ahas?
Yeah, an aha from this portion.
Well, I like the not forcing a meeting. I mean, if they need us and it's gonna happen, and we just put ourselves out there to be there for when they do need to meet. I like that kind of perspective.
Okay. Anna? Anything? All this is old hat for you.
But it's good to always remember what another person's communication style is. We're gonna automatically build the deepest relationships with those people who communicate and have the same frequency as us.
Yep.
But we always have to remember, if we're here for our clients, right? And so if they are not a texter, don't text. Always make the communication, like, what's the most effective for you?
Right.
And learn, because it's gonna be a generational thing, it'll be a cultural thing. So really figuring out how you can connect with that client and making it purposeful to connect that way.
Right.
To provide value.
Mhm.
And also I really like the thing that you added with Zoom, because obviously with the military, you do a lot of out of state. But there's an automatic level of trust when you see a person's face.
Mhm.
And when you're trying to build a relationship that's already hard because it's out of state and you can't laugh and joke and poke fun and do the different mannerism, being able to get that is gonna grow a deeper connection for you into the future to continue them as a referral source for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate, that's very good. So that brings up another thing that I did miss. I mean, we sort of hit on the edges, but one of the questions that I always ask during that, before we even go to the buyer strategy session or get anything on paper, is I ask them how they like to communicate. Right? Do they prefer email, phone calls, text, or otherwise? And I have clients, and I'll put a note in there, that's their name, prefer text, prefer calls, prefer email, whatever the situation is, right? So, and here's the thing, if they say, oh, whatever works, right, I will have clients to say whatever works. Over the course of the next week, 2 weeks, whatever the situation is, you'll notice which form of communication gets the highest amount of response from them, and then you add the note. After that, go ahead.
I just add, like, one thing I like to learn is like, okay, so if I need to get a hold of you right away, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yep.
And if I just need to pass some information on to you that doesn't require like a quick response, what do you prefer?
Right.
Because sometimes it'll always be text.
Right.
It's like, to differentiate between immediacy and just, FYIs.
Right, and when you ask that question about how do you prefer to communicate, a lot of times you'll get a lot of extra free information, and again, like I said before, I love free information. Love, love, love it. They'll give you information into their life. They might talk about, well, I can't answer my phone between these hours because I'm in the military and I work in a vault, or I can't answer my phone between these hours because I do this or I have this going on. Just more insight into what they have going on and what their life looks like so that you're better able to serve them. Every piece of information they give you, pay attention to it, right? It all applies. And take notes, because like I said, I don't know how big y'all's hard drive is. Mine's not very big, so I put the stuff down, or I have a CRM that does it for me, so I don't have to remember all of these things. All right. How to improve your conversion rates. All right. Yeah, I know you guys are tired of hearing about time blocking, right? But again, important. Use system. So CRM is a system, your phone is a system, your brain, you have a system that you work off subconsciously, right? For memorizing data, your habits, etc. That's also a system, right? Connecting to your whole database. We can talk more about that when it comes to other classes. Then prioritize qualified leads. So when we're talking about qualified leads, is Luke on here yet? I wanna ping him.
Yes, he should be.
Yes.
Yeah, I see, so. See if it's on.
Yeah, hey Luke. How would you prioritize a qualified lead? Or what is a qualified lead in your opinion?
In my opinion, a qualified lead is a ready, willing, and able buyer
Okay,
or seller.
what does ready mean?
Ready is, at least like a military standpoint, like they have their orders, they know where they're going, they know when they're leaving. And
Okay.
know when they gotta be out of the house.
Okay, what does able mean?
Able means they have the ability to get a loan, I think.
Okay. Then you said qualified,
Ready, willing, and able, I think.
willing, sorry, willing, what does willing mean?
Um, willing, I think is like they're wanting to work with you. like they want to go, like they're willing to go look at houses and go to showings and open houses and whatnot.
And sign a buyer representation agreement.
Yep. And then I think on the seller side, it'd be like willing to get the house cleaned up, willing to maybe make some repairs to expedite the process once it goes active.
Gotcha. So, when it comes to willing is one of those ones that's, you know, hard to quantify, right? Cause there's so many moving pieces, so many variables to that equation. I like to dumb it down as much as possible. I like the KISS method. When I'm talking to sellers, and a lot of times when I'm talking to buyers, and I have that initial conversation, I just tell them, I'm like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in buying a house when you get to Alaska? Right? If it's a 6 or more, let's rock and roll. Let's do it. If it's a 5 or less, they're gonna probably use a lot of your time and then end up not pulling the trigger. Right? So you'll benefit out, you'll be able to differentiate these, you know, these variables as you go through it. But when it comes to like prioritizing, I prioritize my sellers and buyers that are 6s or higher, and I ask them that question, and it helps sort of frame out what it looks like, right? A 5 is just dipping their toe in the water. Yeah, get them some information, explain some stuff, but they're not willing to set an appointment, right? They're not willing to, you know, they're not. I would caution you against spending a lot of time with them. I would just keep in front of their mind so that when they turn from a 5 or a 4 to a 6, that you're there and then you can re-engage that conversation, right?
Holland online, who has joined us from,
Oh, okay, cool. How's it going, Holland?
Hi, I'm just kind of
Cool.
catching up.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. All right, so, this part sort of fast. I feel like there's more meat on the bone here. Hold on. Okay, so when we were talking about potentially like wasting time, right? When you're first starting out, your natural impulse will be to spend all the time on all the people, right? Whether they're a 1, a 2, a 3, all the way up, right? Because they're like, well, I'm a 1. Well, okay, that means you are interested. No, not really. Just send them some information. You know, do not spend a lot of time on them. When it comes to the conversion rate, your conversion rate and your efficiency will go up exponentially if you're able to prioritize, you know, 6s and higher. All right. And when you're talking about efficiency, are you going to be able to efficiently take care of those 6s, 7s, and 8s if you're spending a bunch of time on the 3s, 4s, and 5s? I would say it's impossible, right? You can provide them value, you can provide them information, but I would prioritize them much lower than the other ones. You have anything on that, Sharon, to add when it comes to like lead conversion and prioritization?
yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
So with lead conversion, definite, or at least prioritizing, I prioritize by motivation.
Yep.
So if they are like right now clients and ready to go, they are like my A clients. They're the ones that are gonna, you know, gonna jump for. But then we also touched on this yesterday when Ed was teaching, where he's like, you know, those people who say that they're ready to buy in a year, bump up your follow-up to like 4 months, because inevitably they don't buy in a year, they buy sooner. So it's just I'm gonna go back to number one, motivation,
Mhm.
and are they qualified?
Right.
Because if they're not ready, they don't have the money and they're
Right.
not qualified, then
Right.
they kind of go lower on the totem pole
Right.
for me.
It doesn't mean that you neglect those people, right? That's not what I'm saying. That's not what Sharon's saying.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Question is statement. So it was almost like whenever I used to go to a car dealership, if I was just window shopping, I didn't really want to see the dealer walk out there and start talking to me.
Right.
But if I had a bag full of money and got you there quick. You know what I
Right.
mean? I do, like, I feel like whenever I'm not completely ready and I'm just kind of window shopping, if you start smothering me, I right away.
100%.
Like, I don't know how you guys feel. That's just the way I am.
100%.
Then, you know, once my fire's going, I want you to stuff, you know, like, if I'm ready, you know.
Right.
I want a lot of attention.
Right.
One
And
thing,
go ahead.
one
Trish.
thing I was just gonna say about that, I feel the same way. I don't wanna be pressured. So one thing that I put my clients at ease or whoever I'm talking to on the phone is like, hey, I don't wanna pressure you. I want to move at your speed. You know, I will move as quickly as you want me to move and I'll be as responsive as you want me to be. So if there's something that really catches your eye, absolutely, you know, let's jump on that. Is it okay? And then I'll ask permission. If I just touch base periodically, no pressure, just checking in genuinely, you know? So they can hear it in your voice. But if you have the commission breath and you're like, you're wanting to like,
Right.
you're wanting to get the
Correct,
sale,
correct.
people feel that energy.
So that's where I'm kind of at, like today, right? I'm, you know, wanting to get the buyer agreement squared away, but I don't want to press too hard. Like,
No.
no, yesterday, you got to set up one, all that's like, how do you, the right timeline, I guess, like, because
Well-
this person's like buying fall or winter is what they said, which is like right around the corner.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I feel like we asked, should we put on now, but I don't want to pressure too much where it goes away.
So each client, of course, is gonna be different, right? So right now, it sounds like there are 4 or 5, right, for right now, right? But just because there are 4 or 5 right now, you guys, again, you saw that wave of like buying and selling, right? It goes up and down, right? If you just bought a house, you're a 0, right? I don't need another house. And then it gradually goes down, you know what I mean? And then you gradually go from a 0 to a 10, right? So the objective is just to stay front of mind. So that once they hit that 6, you're there and ready to rock and roll. And able to initiate that conversation, start to provide value. How can I help? Right?
We'll talk about it more.
Yep.
I mean, the pre-approved already, so I feel like, I don't know where to how to judge them. You know,
Right,
but-
you said he's pre-approved already? All right, if he's pre-approved already, then it sounds like he's a 6. I mean, if somebody's already reached out to a lender to get pre-approval to see what their finances look like, they're at least a 6, right?
And kind of like this, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the easiest way is to flip the script. Instead of like, this is what I'm getting in contract with you, is like, I want to make sure you have a clear understanding, what I'm gonna do for you.
Right.
You have 10 minutes, real quick, over the phone, fine, Zoom if they're not in person. And I just want to explain to you what you have to expect here. I am here to work for you.
Right.
And that opens up the opportunity for the AREC and the buyer's agreement. It doesn't have to be like, you are gonna go into contract with me and da, da, da. I'm here to help you. I want you to know what you can expect from me.
That's what I'm looking for. I need that transition, like, now I need you to sign something before we can get.
Right.
Rolling.
And that can be super awkward when you're asking people to sign contracts, right? Because none of us want to sign a contract for anything, right? And we're gonna be asking that of somebody else. So, like Amanda said, this is the value that I'm providing. These are the expectations that you can have for me. This is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm gonna do it. You know, so buyer strategy encompasses all those things, not contract signing appointment, right? Who wants to go to a contract signing appointment, right? But in our heads, that's what it is, right? In the buyer's heads, that's not what it is, right? They need to know, you know, what's on the AREC, right? They need to know what the process looks like, what the timeline of the purchase looks like. They need to know how long it takes, what obstacles they can look to see, what the possible outcomes of those obstacles can be, the whole picture, and you try to incorporate that into one sit down, and you can just let them know the steps. Hey, I'd like to sit down with you in person. You have time on Thursday at around 1 o'clock. One thing I don't like to do is I don't like to say, hey, when you have time, please hit me up so that we can sit down together and go over expectations or the buyer strategy session, right? I hate that. Don't do that. Hey, I have time on Thursday at 1. Would that work for you to go over this process in a buyer strategy session? They're gonna say no most of the time, right? Okay, cool. What time works for you? Nail it down, right? Nail it down, bounce it against your schedule and get it on the books. Don't leave it open-ended. You know, propose a time, they'll counter with another time, you'll accept, right? And at least it opens it up instead of, well, let me call you back, or, you know, whatever the situation is, right? Try to nail it down.
Don't be wishy-washy, that's the part.
Do not be wishy-washy.
And the thing is, remember that you're a professional.
Right.
Like, okay, Thursday at 1 doesn't work, is that maybe some different people, it's not my strategy, but people have been very effective. Great, I have time at Thursday at 1 or Friday at 2, which works better?
Right. I don't go to
Obviously,
that
you're a
level,
professional.
but
You're an
yeah,
appointment.
yeah, exactly. I don't necessarily go to that level, but yeah, it makes sense. You know what I mean? I, like you said, do not be wishy-washy. Your time is valuable. Do not devalue your time by being too flexible, right? There's a level of flexibility, right?
Setting appointments for Matt,
Yep,
that way, you know, it kind of gives then they feel like, oh, I have a choice here, I can do either this or that, you know,
I
like.
usually open mine up like, cause I am more casual, I'm like,
Yep.
alright, do mornings or afternoons work better? for you?
perfect,
Then I go, okay, this or this, this.
100%, perfect, absolutely. All right, so a recap and ahas. Learn the lead conversion. How to convert the lead appointment, improve your conversion rate. I know some of you guys joined a little bit late, which is not a problem. Looks like we're a little bit ahead of time, right?
Yeah, we're good, and usually, we will, and we'll end, a little early and open the floor to questions or, anything else that we want to delve into, And one thing, you know, I think this is all very, very helpful, you know, I'll let you keep going, and then, usually the rest, like, everything else, the daily success system, I'll take care of at the very end,
Okay.
so.
Cool. All right, so what questions based off of the information that we went over, do you guys have right now? Open forum.
I don't have any questions. I was just like a aha thing about what Brian said. Like when you go to a car dealership and they just start immediately like pushing monthly payments down your throat and all that stuff, like that's a big, I wouldn't say red flag, but it's definitely something that makes me not want to do business with somebody when they don't even want to have a conversation, like maybe get to know me or see what my interests are and stuff like that. Like
Right.
car dealers don't do the forward thing that we do when we get to know a client. I think
Right.
that's a huge thing that for me, getting to sit down with somebody and talk to them, even if it's just on the phone, get to know them, see kind of, you know, how urgently they need to buy or the lack of urgency they have before I start, you know, giving them information.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hey, Toby.
Yes, sir.
You and I are gonna role play for a second. You're gonna be a buyer, I'm gonna be the realtor, all right?
All right.
All right, so the context is you're not pre-approved. You're looking at, wanting to see some houses. And we have not yet done like a buyer service agreement or otherwise. All right?
Okay.
All right, so, hey Toby, what's going on?
Hey, I'm doing good. About yourself?
Sweet, so you ready to look at some houses?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you pre-approved?
No, I'm not pre-approved at the moment.
Okay. How does that come across, guys? What? Okay, is it positive, negative, neutral? What is your opinion?
Well, you're getting excited to want to look at houses and then you're putting a qualifier on it.
Right, which is a little bit of a downer,
Right.
right? It's a downer. right? And also, what does it say? It's just like what Luke was talking about, like, okay, it basically says, are you worth my time? Right? Do we want our clients to feel like we're questioning whether they're worth our time or not?
No.
No, we do not. Absolutely not. We do not want to do that, right? All right, Toby, same situation. All right, you ready?
All right.
Hey, Toby, how's it going? I heard you're ready to look at some houses.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Cool. So we gotta accomplish a couple things first. I'd like to schedule you for what we call our buyer strategy session. Are you available on Thursday?
I don't know if Thursday would be the best time for me, to really sit down and go over that.
Okay, what days are best for you?
Anytime in the afternoon, between 1 and 5, usually the mornings that I do have, they're pretty busy.
Okay, sounds good. So how about 4 o'clock on Friday? Does that work?
Yeah, that should fit right in my schedule.
Perfect. And in the meantime, there are a couple steps that you can take to prepare for this meeting. One of which is pre-approval. Do you know any lenders locally or otherwise that you worked with before that you like?
No, sir, there's nobody, that comes off the top of my head, at the moment.
Okay, well, I can send you a couple of recommendations in the email. They're all highly competent. I highly recommend that you look through and apply at a couple different places. You can apply at for multiple mortgages with multiple companies at the same time, and it only hits your credit once. So I encourage you to shop around. During that meeting, we'll discuss this more in depth, but that's something that you can start to execute on now, because I would hate to see the right house and us not be able to pull the trigger on it. It'd be like hunting without a round in the chamber. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate that, the great information that you're giving me and giving me, a heads up.
Cool. So I'll see you on Friday.
Awesome. See you Friday.
All right, so now everybody's gonna have their own different version of that, right? But did the second version come across as a downer? Like the first one did?
No.
It's different, right?
No,
Completely
because
different.
whenever I first bought my house, I started to look at houses first, and I had no idea you had to be pre-qualified. I didn't know anything about it. I thought it was almost like you show up at the dealership and then get financed there or whatever.
Right, exactly. So if you can explain what they can do to help themselves, right? And how they can help themselves, people are gonna be all about it, right? So you, again, remember when I was talking about before? Like the I statements, I need, I can, whatever, right? Try to avoid those as much as you can and come from a place of service. So these are the things that you need to do to help yourself, or otherwise it comes across much better, right? And it comes across much more professionally. Hey, these are the requirements, these are why the requirements exist, and these are how those requirements will impact our decision making and the outcome of this process, right? Those are big, because again, a lot of these people are first-time home buyers. They don't know anything about anything, right? And you wanna make sure that your lenders, right, you have a good relationship with them, you know how they work, and you'll build those. But you can explain to them, hey, look, these are why I use these specific lenders, this is the value that they provide. And that also gives you a segue into that pre-approval conversation as well, by saying, hey, look, I use these lenders, this is why, this is what they do, this is how they do it. Type situation, you advocate for the lenders. It helps out a lot, and it also provides additional value, because now you took care of another variable for them, right? Especially if the vendor that you're using, whether it be a home inspector, lender, title, whoever it is, executes up to the level that you expect them to, that's just gonna do nothing but make you look good, right? Cool. So what other questions you guys have? Anybody? Do you guys wanna use 20 minutes going through MLS?
We can do that.
You wanna do that? Let's do that. Does anybody have any questions specifically about MLS before I get into it?
We have lunch coming at 11:20. Mel Shreves, is under, that is sponsoring lunch. So then we'll take a break.
Okay.
Once she arrives, but
Okay.
at least we can go through a little bit of a.
Quick tutorial.
So, one of the big things, so I went over to the MLS office and they said that they had multiple home screens essentially, right? Where you have a classic, you have whatever the new one is, all that stuff. I don't know what half of it is. To be honest with you. So I guess like a orientation of the front screen.
Right? You're talking about this?
Yeah, so if you go to, I think you can click home right there.
Yeah.
There's the different screens that you can go through.
So I really don't ever use my home screen for anything. And other people have different levels of use. I mean, I'll go to the hot sheet sometimes, I'll just go here.
Like, I don't even know how you set up a hot sheet, you know?
So it says daily functions, you go to hot sheet and you just set it up, what area.
That's for you to look at, like it gives you.
Yes,
Yeah.
you'll get alerted, if any new listings, like you can have certain criteria. So
Right.
just like what Matthew's, entering right now.
Different areas.
Different areas and maybe what new listings have come up or what's coming soon. Maybe, what's back on the market. And that's important to know because then you can see, okay, great, we've got new listings and as soon as it comes up, you can see it. And highly recommend looking at that.
So 24-hour hot sheet is what I recommend, and then you just, so not everybody's gonna be looking at like Wasilla and Palmer and Anchorage all at the same time. A lot of times people are gonna be like, no, I wanna specifically be in Eagle River. Or I wanna be specifically south of Tudor, or I wanna specifically be in Palmer, whatever the situation is, right? And then you just run that hot sheet and take a look. And this is what a hot sheet looks like. This is something that has changed in the last 24 hours. Right? So one thing I like to do when I'm in here, because a lot of the times with buyers, you're specifically looking for a specific price point. So I just sort it by descending on the price immediately, and then I just go to my price point. So I only have to look at 2 listings instead of 20 listings, right? On the hot sheet. Oh, I know that they're capped out at 500. Okay, cool. So I have basically like 3 here. 4 here, maybe 5 that would be applicable, right? And I'll take a look at them, see if they fit the requirements, and then jump on it quickly, right? All right, so there is no fast way to get your contacts from your CRM or your phone into MLS that I am aware of. So unfortunately, when you have a buyer, you have to hand them in their contact information. So you go first, last email, you want, in my opinion, always turn the portal on. And then the portal is what allows them to see the listings and allows you to see what listings that they're looking at.
I did not click that yesterday, so.
Okay, that's fine. We can get it set up. We can go back in and set it up. So we can go to contact management. So let's go. Joe Duffy at Joe Duffy at Joe Duffy.net. We'll go to portal. Quick add. Bang. All right, so it's gonna pull this screen up. Okay, so contact details, we have Joe Duffy at Joe Duffy.net. They have not viewed a subscription, a manual, they haven't viewed anything, we haven't sent them anything. So they're not gonna have any activity. So we're gonna go to, I'm gonna exit out of this real quick. We'll go
Are you able to
to,
see, like, so once you set them up on that, are you able to see how many has been sent to them?
yes, so we're gonna go to one that I currently have active, so you can see what it looks like. All right, last email activity, they looked at listing 3 days ago. They viewed 4 properties on a subscription. One manual, that means that they did a search on the Flex MLS portal themselves and looked at it. And they looked at 7 total properties. I sent them automatically using a subscription. We'll talk about that in a second. 8 properties. This guy's search criteria is very, very, very it's limited. It's very precise, right? So there's not a lot of homes that meet his requirements. So total, he's looked at these listings. He's looked at this Mohawk Street 28 times. If I'm looking at my clients and I see a lot of activities, I'm gonna look at what properties they're looking at and reach out to them. Hey, I saw that you've been paying attention to this property. Don't say, hey, I saw you view this property 28 times and pull the trigger, or don't, you know what I mean? Hey, I've noticed that you're interested in this property. Can I provide any additional information or ask any questions of the listing agent for you? Right, and then reach out.
I like that, that's a good transition, like, hey, you'll be able to look at this.
Right. Is there any, I see that you're interested in these, probably 5 properties. Would you like to sit down and schedule a showing? Would you like to move to the next step in the process? All right, so versus and subscriptions, we'll get into this. He's on 2 subscriptions right now. So it shows you the search parameters of the subscription that you set. And then you can click this and view all the properties that currently meet that search criteria, so that you can actively see what those things are, and you don't have to re-input search criteria. All right, we'll go back to content management. We're gonna show you guys how to set up a subscription real quick, because that's gonna be the biggest impact on your day-to-day. All right, so we'll say we're gonna look in active, we're gonna say it's gonna be in the valley. We're gonna say the price is between 400,000 and 600,000. That's basically the median. We're gonna go 3 beds minimum, 2 beds minimum, or 2 baths minimum. We're gonna go garage spaces. We're in the valley, so we're gonna say we want 3 garages. All right. Square foot, acreage, we'll go 0.93 is what we call a valley acre. Okay, cool. We got 39 properties that meet that criteria. So to set a subscription, you're gonna go up here to save search. We're gonna go Joe Duffy, Wasilla, Palmer, 3 bed, 2 bath, 3 car on an acre. You can call them anything you want. I just always put it in the name so I know what I'm looking at. You can put it in the description. I've never ever put anything in the description. I just keep everything clean and concise up at the top, so I don't have to worry about it. You can go existing contact. We just put Joe Duffy in, so Joe Duffy's in. And then you can input additional search criteria. I do not normally do it because it already has all the defaults selected, right? So we're gonna go, hold on, let me get rid of this. All right, we're gonna put this up top. So we're not gonna save it. We're gonna save and add a subscription. All right, subscription for Joe Duffy. You the sender, yep, send me an email when the contact clicks the link. That is very helpful because it shows or tells you when they've opened up the link to the subscription to start to view properties. So, so here's the thing. I will put a subscription into MLS for literally anybody that asks me to. I don't have them sign a buyer service agreement in AREC, nothing. I will send you an email with listings all day, every day, and let you look at stuff for fun if you want. I don't care, right? This literally takes, what, 30 seconds to do this, right? And during that conversation to lead up to this, I got a bunch of free information, right? I got your timeline probably, I got your contact information, and I got everything else, right? So I will use this as a tool, one, get information and also get their contact information to add them to my database. And to increase, like my sphere, right? It's a good tool for that. And when you have them set up on a subscription, it's an additional touch that automatically happens by itself with no interaction from you whatsoever. So when it says, please choose a schedule for this subscription, you can go weekly. If you click all the days, it'll update daily. You don't want to do that. If they want to do a weekly, what I like to do is deselect everything except either Thursday or Friday, depending on what you want to do. Because a lot of agents will update their listings on Thursday for the weekend or Friday for the weekend. So it's sort of a hit or miss depending. I don't know if you guys have an opinion. It's better, you know what I mean, to
I asked
update
for,
it.
I depend on what field I use for their immediacy. And if they're hot, they're ready to go,
Right.
and I ask them, I'm like, how often do you want them? If they tell me every day, I'm gonna give it to them every day.
100%. Yeah.
And if otherwise, I agree with you 100%. I'll say, well, how about Thursday or Friday, because that's the day that most new
Right.
listings are gonna hit the market.
Right, and if they're just in the feeling out stage and they don't want weekly emails, you can do a monthly one as well, there's an option for that. And you can choose which day it gets sent out on. If they're hot and heavy and you have just got your buyer service agreement signed and you're like ready to rock and roll, I highly recommend you click the ASAP button so that as new properties become available, they immediately get those emails, and as do you. When it comes to the subject and the body of the email, you can put like new listings that meet your requirements or whatever.
And I just do like this week's new listings.
Something along those lines, just so that, cause that email subject will be the subject line of every email they get from Flex MLS with new listings. So you just want it to be something that sort of stands out from like normal marketing BS. And then the body of the email, I don't even ever put anything in the body of the email. To me, it's not, there's no value added there. Cause they don't care what you have to say in the email that they're gonna get 20 times, they're not gonna read it, they just want to put the listings. So you're gonna say, all right, we saved it. So now, it did not automatically send them the list of listings that we just looked up. You wanna click email these listings now, Joe Duffy. And then we're gonna go send a copy to me, yes. Notify me the first time the recipient views page, yes. And then you can just do, you know, the listings we talked about, right? And again, I don't even put anything in the body because that's not necessary, and you email them out. Cool. And then you're done. That is it. Did I go too fast? Would you guys like to see it slower? That's too fast, quick.
No, the only problem here there is whenever I'm doing the shapes or whatever is.
Oh, got it. Okay, we can go over that real quick. All right, so say that they didn't want to be in like a specific, they do want to be in a specific borough census area, but the valley goes all the way up to Talkeetna, and we don't want to necessarily show people that want to commute to like Base or Anchorage or somewhere else, Talkeetna houses, or have them get listings that are out in Talkeetna. Or maybe they don't want to be down KGB, right? I get that sometimes. So what you can do, there's shapes here on the side, and you can do a square if you want to just do a block, right? And we can do that, right? But say we want to get a little bit more specific, right? And they only want to be in a certain part of, say, Anchorage. We'll switch this to Anchorage. Say they want to be in Anchorage. Oh yeah, nobody in Anchorage is gonna have an acre on them. We'll get rid of that.
Yeah, I searched that yesterday, it didn't happen.
Yeah, and also the garage is gonna be a huge limb back for 600,000 under Anchorage. Okay, so say we're gonna wanna get into Anchorage, right? And they want a weird shape, like they wanna be south of Tudor, but like also they'll consider Midtown if it's west of the main highway, right? So we're gonna go here, gonna go over, click up, then down, and then down. Okay, and that was the polygon right here.
And
that'll get
double
you-
click at the end to end it.
Yeah, and double click on, for all of the shapes, you gotta double click on the end to nail it down. It might be a little finicky, a couple, like depending on if you're on Windows or Mac, or if you're on your laptop or your tablet. I find that the polygon on my tablet is really, really difficult. If for whatever reason, for touchscreen devices, it's a pain in the butt. So just be aware of that. It's not you, it's normal. So in those type of situations, I tend to just search individual areas if I tend to be like on my tablet. And just select multiple different areas. So you can select multiple different areas by hitting like shift and doing the full thing, or by hitting control, you can hold on and select multiple different ones individually.
Can you show them if they selected the wrong shape, how to delete that shape?
Oh yeah, so if you just selected the wrong shape, you're gonna go up. Underneath where it says shape, right at the top, you just click the X, it deletes it, and you go back to where you were. Any questions on this so far? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Cool. Always reach out with questions. This kind of stuff's very easy to go through pretty quickly. We can FaceTime, while you're on it, and, work through it. Any of us can do it, myself, Sharon, Brian, any of us are able to help you with this kind of stuff. These are your tools. You need to know how to use them at a high level, all right? The better the better you're able to utilize MLS, the better and, what you're gonna do in your job, as well as the less frustrated you're gonna be when moving. Cool? So I think we're now ready to break for lunch, and
Yes.
then.
Yeah, so for those,
In the guard.
wonderful, thank you, Matt.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Okay, for those of you on Zoom, hold on, I want to introduce you to our lunch sponsor, Mel Shreves. Can you come up and tell us a little bit about yourself? She's with Fairway Mortgage, and take it away.
Hey, I am Mel Shreves McFarland. I am with Fairway Mortgage. I hyper specialize in VA lending. I am one of the best VA lenders in the state. I grew up learning how to lend down in the greater Puget Sound area. I've been in the industry since 2008, and I started specializing, I got into the mortgage industry in 2012. I've been hyper specializing in VA lending for over a decade. Some of the things that I do with VA loans that other lenders don't, my niche is working with military families to cultivate and create generational wealth through house hacking using their VA home loan benefit. So a lot of the things that I do are joint VA loans, bonus entitlement, people who have more than one VA loan going on at a time, people who've accumulated a real estate portfolio through multiple duty stations. Some of the other things that I do, I'm also the only loan officer in Alaska who's licensed to do reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgage is very much a niche product. It's more for, you have to be over the age of 62 to qualify for a reverse. It's more for retired clients, or one of the things that's the biggest up and coming demographic is silver divorce, which a lot of people don't talk about. Silver divorce is just basically someone over the age of 62 who's going through a divorce. Someone who, and when you're at that stage of life, by that time you're probably on a fixed income. You have, a certain expectation of a lifestyle that you've always worked and maintained, and you want to try to achieve that while also separating assets. Where a reverse mortgage comes into play in that scenario is it allows you to choose whether or not you want to make your mortgage payment. And if that's something that you have a client who fits that demographic, call me. We can go into a deep dive on that specific product. Fairway finally rolled out what we've been much excited and anticipating is our in-house one-time custom construction flows product. We have VA custom construction, 0 down. We can do conventional custom construction with as low as 10% cash down. So, and you can use land that's already owned as collateral. We'll do up to 6 builder draws. It is completely in-house. Fairway is a mortgage bank. We are not a broker. We do have brokering capabilities, but in the 8.5 years I've been with Fairway, I've only had to broker a loan one time, because we've been able to keep everything else. We're Fannie Freddie Ginnie Direct, which just in English means that we, if the major investors say we can do it, we can do it. We do not have overlays. I also
You
do.
told some of the new licensees what an overlay is.
Overlay, so the easiest way to understand what an overlay is, think about maybe jobs you've had in the past where you've had a policy where if you're gonna be out and about on the construction site, say, and OSHA says you just have to have a hard hat on. Think of an overlay as like a policy plus. So maybe OSHA only requires that you have a hard hat on, but your employer requires that you have a hard hat and goggles and gloves. Okay. So if the major investor says we only need the hard hat, then we only require that you have to have the hard hat. So that's the easiest way to understand it. Trying to think what else.
No, and in our world, that's great because that means less hoops that the buyers have to jump through.
Yes.
And makes it easier to work with the lender.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that's a plus. So that's a definite question when interviewing lenders.
Yes.
It's like, hey, what kind of like overlays are there?
Yes.
So thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love working with new realtors. They're my fave. Both of my realtors last year here in Alaska got Rookie of the Year, which was super awesome, super exciting for both of them. I always tell Helen's over there. I always tell my realtors, especially my new agents, just kick me a good ball, okay? Just get me the client and I will get it closed. I always see myself as an extension of your brand. And I work really hard to ensure that the clients are always feeling safe and secure. Yeah, I work really hard to make sure that you feel confident in what's going on. I always answer the phone for my realtors. Yeah, does anybody have any questions?
Can you say your name and company again and your phone number, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm Mel McFarland, and my cell is area code 253-353-4566. And I don't know how many people in total are on, but I did bring a raffle.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if.
Yeah, we've got 7 and then we've got, we had Brian here a moment ago, so, probably a total of 8.
Okay,
So if we want to include, our wonderful instructors too, we've got Amanda Charles and Matthew St. John here who are instructors, but otherwise our new licensees, I think we've got, actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new licensees. Say again?
And Kobe.
Toby. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. We've
Yep,
got
Toby and Sarah are both here too.
Sarah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 8 total new licensees.
so I was thinking about probably the easiest way to do this. Would just be pick a number between 1 and 100, and then everybody can go off.
Yeah.
Do you want to pick the number? Don't say it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You
I
got
got
a
it.
number?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, so what I'm raffling off is, if you haven't seen it or read it or listened to it yet, the Mel Robbins book, Let Them. The reason why I picked this for new licensees is because this industry is hard. It's very hard, but it is very much, it's a mind game for sure. And what I would say is the best thing that you can do for yourself is get into a mindset of let them, and not let other people's opinions, thoughts, impact you. My boss gave me one of the best pieces of advice earlier in my career when I was struggling with a mindset. And he said, mind your business and mind your business. And that's got me through a lot of hard times, and I hope that this book, and that little piece of advice, mind your business and mind your business, helps you as well. So,
Super. All right, guys, on Zoom.
Can I add
And
something?
yes,
Okay, so I'm here full support of Mel. Mel is my lender. Where's the camera? Hi, guys.
who are you?
I'm Helen Bradier.
She was our, she was
Rookie
one
of
of
the
our
year.
instructors last week. Hello.
So, but I just wanna come say this, like, for me, there's a ton of lenders, and a ton of people bring you free food, and a ton of people who talk to you and you have no idea what they're saying, but they sound like they're cool, whatnot. This chick not only like side by side sells with you, but she also like will teach you things. I have learned so much from Mel that I can't, like, honestly, by far the best person I know that's helped me with my career, aside from Brian.
That gave me chills. I love that. Thank you. And it's so true. I think I've told everybody on here in Ignite already. It's super important to have that person be on your team. Find your team member, your lender, your title person. So call Mel. I'll actually include Mel's contact information in our group chat. So that way you guys have her contact information directly. All right, so we should probably sound off on numbers here. Pick a number from anywhere from 1 to 100. You guys on Zoom? Right, go ahead. We'll start, let's start with Cameron. Between 1 and 100. Kelly,
37.
okay. Sarah and Toby,
29.
I'm gonna go 44.
okay.
I'm gonna
Marion?
go 80,
Oh, yeah. Luke,
80.
all right. Arian,
12.
okay, Cameron.
Potty break.
Yep. Brian,
What? 24.
24.
Then what?
All right, let me see if I can text Cameron.
This Qdoba is so good. I don't ever go there. All right, again.
Testing one more time, going once, twice, 3 times for Cameron. Are you there? Do you copy over?
Are we missing something? It's not working?
Nope, we're not missing. We're just doing a raffle. Must be present to win. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and chug forward. Luke, you are the winner. The number was 77. That's the year of Aquarius. Okay. So beautiful. Congratulations.
You want Saturday off?
All right, Luke, we've got this book here in Wasilla for you when you are ready. All right, guys,
Awesome,
for
thank
those
you.
of you on Zoom, let me just pause you all here for a moment. We're gonna get started in just a few minutes. And just hang tight. We've got Amanda Charles up next for our next session. So hang tight here for a moment, okay? A week. Zoom.